Buenas tardes, estudiantes. Well, we're going to be looking at forming yes or no questions in Spanish. And the statements are pretty much the same as they are in English as far as the word order. So in statements, just like in English, your subject always comes first and it's going to be followed by the verb. For example, Marco eats, or Pedro eats, or whoever. Marco is a subject and your verb is eats. That's your action word or your verb. So just like English, in Spanish it would be Marco, that's your subject, followed by the verb come. Okay, Marco come. So it's the same word order. Okay, your subject and then your verb. So the change comes when we're looking at questions in Spanish. Okay, the word order changes. Okay, and what happens is instead of the subject coming before the verb, it's going to switch and come after. Okay, and so instead of having Marco come, your verb is going to come first, and then it's going to be followed by the subject or the doer of the action, which in this case is Marco. So you get something like this: come Marco, and it becomes a yes/no question. And don't forget, you're going to put your question marks, and you're going to make your voice go up on the end just a little bit. Okay. So once again, the subject follows the verb in yes/no questions in Spanish. Okay, so come Marco, right here I am again, would be translated, does Marco eat? Does Marco eat? Okay, so let's keep going. Now here's some other examples. So we have Ana habla, which means Anna talks. Subject, verb, just like English, but then we're going to switch it to a question. So we're going to have our verb first, followed by our subject here. Okay, so you get habla Ana, make your voice go up, and you get does Anna talk. Now I'm adding does when I'm translating it to English, and that's fine because that makes our English sound better and more normal and fluent, but you don't ever translate does into Spanish. Okay, you would just say habla Ana. Okay, you wouldn't need to add a does over here. There is no does as a helping verb really at this point in Spanish for you guys. So don't worry about do or does, but we'll get to that later. Okay, let's get back to the examples. Las chicas cantan, the girls sing. Okay, so remember, las chicas are the girls, that's the subject, and the verb is cantan, they sing. Okay, now when I'm making my question, I gotta start with my verb, which is cantan, and my subject is going to be las chicas. Okay, so it's do the girls sing? Do the girls sing? Okay, let's look at another one. Pablo y yo caminamos. Okay, Pablo y yo, that's the subject, Pablo and I. Caminamos, we walk, that's the verb. Pablo and I walk. Okay, Pablo and I walk. I want to ask, do Pablo and I walk? I would have to put, again, the verb first, followed by the subject. Okay, so hopefully that's kind of, kind of settling with you guys, and you're starting to see that pattern and feeling more comfortable with it. Okay, so if I wanted to say, does Pedro talk? It would just be, remember, to talk in Spanish is hablar. Okay, so I would just ignore the does because we don't translate that into Spanish, and I would just start with my verb and go, habla Pedro, and put my question marks, and I'd be all done. Okay? Alright, how about do Paco and Lupe live? Remember, to live in Spanish is vivir. It's an IR verb. Try to write it over here. Do Paco and Lupe live? Okay, remember, I just ignore the do. Don't worry about that. And since it's a question, I'm going to have to start with my verb, which is vivir. So it's going to be, wow, I didn't leave myself a lot of room. So it's going to be, I'll write it right here. Viven, that's Viven with an E-N, Paco and Lupe, I'll just put their initials. Viven, Paco y Lupe? Well, I hope they're living. Either that or they're zombies, but I don't have time to discuss that right now. Okay, now let's move on to doncha. And doncha means you're from the south, or maybe it means you're from the north, I don't know. But if you put a no before a verb in a question, you're pretty much saying don't ya or don't you. okay? So look down here. Remember, hablar means to talk, and here it is in the to form. If I put a no here, it changes it from meaning do you talk to don't you talk, okay? So if you put the no there, it changes it to don't you talk. Here, I'll write it for you. Don't you or don't ya? See, did you hear the cha there? Don't ya? Don't you talk? So that's how the no changes it. I put a no before comen, and then, you know, this means they eat. We're talking about them. It would be, don't they eat? Don't they eat? So just notice how the no changes the meaning just a little bit. Okay, and then the last one is no lee Maria. Lee comes from leer, which means to read. So this means, doesn't Maria read? Doesn't. Oh, I didn't spell that right. Well, that's supposed to be doesn't. Doesn't Maria read? Okay. Oh, that's a question mark. Okay. All right. Now, real quick. Using no in answering questions in Spanish. Okay. When you're answering a question in the negative, sometimes you have to have two no's in Spanish. Okay, you have to have two of them. The first no actually answers the yes/no question, like, do you eat tacos? And let's say you can't eat tacos and you're going to say no. You can say, no, I don't eat tacos. Okay, so the first no would answer the question. The second no would make the verb negative. Okay, so oftentimes in Spanish you'll need to use two no's. So that's what I wrote here in number 2. The first no answers the question. The second one makes the sentence negative. So for example, in English, if I said, do you smoke? No, I do not smoke. Okay, so if we translate this to Spanish, the question would be fumas tú, and that means, do you smoke? And the answer is no. That's the answer to the question, no. Okay, I don't smoke. Notice how the second no is needed to make the verb negative. Okay, it makes the whole sentence negative by making the verb. That's supposed to be an arrow, but that's a really bad arrow. So I just wanted you to make sure that you understood that if you're answering a yes/no question and you answer it no, that you still need another no to make your verb negative, okay? And that the no that's going to make your verb negative always comes right before it. Okay, they're really good friends. Don't ever put it over here like before the yo. It always has to come right before the verb, so definitely don't put it here. Okay, I think, oh, okay, here's a few more examples. Okay, so if I say cantas, and that means do you sing, and I wanted to say no, I would say no. Yo no canto, I don't sing. Okay, this makes this I don't sing. Okay, do they live? No, they don't live. Okay, but no makes that negative. Do we eat? That's what this one says right here. Do we eat? No, we do not eat. Okay, so notice how all these have two no's. No, 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 no. Okay? Now, if you see something like this, no cantas, don't forget it kind of means don't ya, okay, or don't you. So no cantas would be don't you sing. And if it said no viven ellos, that would mean don't they live? Don't they live? And if you saw no comemos nosotros, don't we, oh, this is supposed to be eat. Don't we eat? Don't we eat? Okay, so I want you to have a little bit of practice with forming questions and seeing how no can change your translations a little bit and how they work with answering questions also, and making sentences negative. So I made a worksheet for you to go over all of this, and don't worry, we're just getting started and we're going to understand this really well all together, and you're just at the very beginning. Okay, so go down to your lesson assignment and see what I have for you, and I will see you next time in class. Hasta luego.